The retrograde is over, but you're not in the clear. Most people think the chaos ends the moment Mercury goes direct, like someone flipping a cosmic switch, like everything goes back to normal at midnight. But that's not how energy works. And if you're paying attention, if your body's been feeling strange today, if your thoughts have been glitching, if you felt this eerie pause in the air, then you already know something deeper is going on. Because today, April 7th, is not a return to peace. It's not the resolution, it's the aftershock phase, and it's the part almost everyone underestimates. This is when people slip up. This is when they misread the signs. This is when the energetic reset becomes a trap instead of a portal. You see, Mercury doesn't just stop retrograding and wipe the slate clean. It stations direct, but the energy doesn't stabilize instantly. In fact, these hours, this window right now, can be even more energetically charged than the retrograde itself. Why? Because all the suppressed thoughts, blocked decisions, and trapped emotions that were stirred up over the past 3 weeks, they're still hanging in the air. And if you don't know how to move through them, if you're not watching for the right signals, they will solidify into your next chapter. Today is not just a transition, it's a test. The universe is asking, what did you learn? Who have you become? And are you strong enough to carry the new version of you forward? Or are you going to fall back into the habits Mercury tried to shake loose? There's a subtle danger here, and it doesn't come from Mercury. It comes from the illusion that the work is done. The truth is, the real shift starts now. This is the space between cycles, a spiritual twilight zone. Things are moving, but they're not fully formed. And that makes everything more sensitive, more slippery, more powerful. What you speak now holds more weight. What you commit to now gets amplified. And what you avoid, it doesn't go away, it festers. You might feel like your mind is clearer, but your body is off. You might feel moments of relief, followed by waves of anxiety that seem to come from nowhere. That's not random. That's your field recalibrating. That's Mercury's shadow pulling on the threads of what you haven't yet fully faced. So no, you're not done. The retrograde gave you clues, but now you're being asked to act. And that's where most people go numb. They fall asleep energetically. They think the danger passed because the label changed. But if you really want to rise into the version of you this retrograde was carving out, you need to move differently today. There are 8 specific shifts happening right now that most people are completely missing. These are not just emotional mood swings or weird coincidences. These are spiritual signals. They're cosmic markers. And if you know how to read them, you can ride this post-retrograde wave into massive energetic alignment. If you ignore them, you could be sealing the exact cycle you were meant to break. So if you've been feeling off, stirred up, strangely clear 1 second and lost the next, keep watching. What's happening right now is real. It's not your imagination. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what to look for and what to do about it. This next phase isn't about survival, it's about precision. And if you can see these 8 shifts for what they are, you won't just heal the residue of retrograde, you'll harness its power. Make sure you like, subscribe, and stay until the end. Because what we're about to uncover may not only explain what you've been feeling, it might just show you the doorway to what's coming next. 1. Emotional whiplash. And just when you thought the fog was lifting, there it is again. That sudden drop, that weird spin in your chest. One moment you feel calm, clear, maybe even optimistic. Then the next, you're spiraling, second-guessing, emotionally short-circuiting over nothing. That's not just a bad mood. That's not just poor sleep or caffeine or hormones. That is emotional whiplash. And it's one of the most alarming signs that you're not done with this retrograde energy, not even close. Because here's the truth, just because Mercury stations direct doesn't mean you've stabilized. Mercury is still in its shadow phase, a 2-week window where the energy is still glitchy, still unpredictable, still echoing everything it stirred up during the retrograde. It's like the ground is still shaking after the quake. The waves haven't stopped. They've just changed form. And your nervous system, it's trying to catch up. So what you're feeling right now, this rapid back and forth between clarity and chaos, isn't a malfunction. It's a recalibration. You are literally being rewired to hold a new frequency. And in that process, you will feel everything you've outgrown trying to pull you back. Old fears, old thought patterns, old emotional reactions that used to run you without question. This is the moment most people misread. They think, oh no, I'm sliding backward. I thought I was healing. I thought I had clarity. Why am I suddenly anxious again? But what they don't realize is that clarity always gets tested. Every breakthrough gets pressure tested by your own biology. Your mind may be catching up to new truths, but your nervous system still remembers the old wounds. That's why the fear feels real. That's why the doubt hits harder today than it did last week. Your body's asking, is this safe now? And your job is to anchor the answer, yes. But here's the dangerous part. If you react to the first feeling that hits you today, you might make a decision based on fear. You might send a message out of panic. You might give up on an idea because you're confusing recalibration for failure. That's the trap. That's how people sabotage the very growth they spent the last 3 weeks working toward. So don't trust the first feeling. Wait for the second. Feel the wave, but don't act on it immediately. Let the energy pass through before you speak, before you quit, before you spiral. Emotional whiplash is not a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that something is shifting. It's your system learning how to stabilize at a higher frequency. And if you can hold steady during the turbulence, you'll find that the second wave brings something new: insight, direction, power. This is why today is so critical, because if you act out of the emotional chaos of this moment, you might lock yourself into a timeline that doesn't belong to you anymore. But if you stay aware, if you pause, if you breathe into the second feeling, you open the door to something much more aligned. And we're just getting started, because this isn't the only strange shift unfolding right now. The next one? It's not emotional, it's relational. And it could show up as a message, a thought, or a person from the past. Keep watching. You need to see what's next. 2. Unfinished conversations are returning. And just when you thought you were done with the past, there it is. A message you didn't expect. A name in your head you thought you'd forgotten. A conversation you swore was over. Suddenly knocking again like it has something new to say. This is not a glitch. This is not a coincidence. This is one of the most revealing signs of post-retrograde energy. Unfinished conversations are returning. But here's what most people get wrong. They think this means the retrograde didn't work. They assume that because the past is showing up again, they're being dragged backward. But it's actually the opposite. These echoes are showing up because the retrograde did its job. It unearthed the stuck energy. It loosened the emotional knots. It made space. And now that space is being filled by what needs resolution, not avoidance. This is the test. The person reaching out now, the urge to finally say something, the thought you can't shake, they're back because you're different. You're not meant to repeat the old dynamic. You're being given a moment to respond from a higher level of awareness. And what you say now, in this space where Mercury is no longer distorting the message, will land deeper. It will lock in. So don't ignore the ping. Don't run from the conversation you didn't finish. But also, don't answer from the same place you spoke from before. Speak from the healed version of you. Choose clarity over closure. Choose truth over comfort. Because what you say now doesn't just change the moment, it changes the momentum. And the words you speak in the next few days may ripple further than you can see right now. And if you think this is deep, wait until you see what's happening with your mind next. 3. Brain fog lifting. But something feels off. And now comes the strangest part. Your mind is starting to feel clearer. The fog that's been hanging over your thoughts for weeks is finally lifting. You're remembering things. You're organizing again. Ideas that once felt far away are starting to sharpen. But even as your mental clarity returns, something still feels off. It's not confusion anymore. It's something more disorienting, like the world has shifted slightly sideways while you weren't looking. This isn't just psychological, it's energetic dissonance. Your consciousness is coming back online, but the external world hasn't caught up yet. Everything feels familiar, but slightly distorted. Like you know how things used to work, but now the rules have changed. That's because they have. During Mercury Retrograde, You were slowed down for a reason. Your perception was being rewired. You were being pulled inward, forced to question patterns, habits, and assumptions you usually operate from without thinking. And now that you're stepping out of that fog, it's not about going back to how things were. It's about noticing what no longer fits. This is where people go wrong. They feel the mental clarity return and rush to fill the space with old routines, old goals, old urgency. But this is not a reset to normal. This is a new alignment, and if you're not careful, you'll rebuild your life around a version of yourself that no longer exists. So move slow. Observe more than you act. Let the clarity land fully before making big decisions. This is a recalibration window. Use it to course correct, not to relapse. Because in this new energy, the strategies that used to work may now feel heavy, forced, wrong. And if you keep chasing the old path, you'll miss the invitation to something higher. Next, we need to talk about what's showing up when you're not even awake. 4. Vivid dreams plus strange signs. And while your conscious mind tries to make sense of this new energy, your subconscious has already begun decoding it through your dreams. Maybe you woke up this morning with fragments of a strange storyline, a symbol that won't leave your mind, a face from the past staring at you behind your eyelids. Or maybe tonight, it's coming for you. Either way, you're entering a phase where your dreams are no longer just dreams. They're messages. When Mercury goes direct, the veil between conscious and unconscious thought briefly thins. Your mind is still in integration mode, but your soul is already receiving. That's why dream activity spikes. You're being shown what your logic hasn't caught up to yet. That animal, that recurring number, that surreal moment in your sleep. It's all part of the translation. And it's not just dreams. Strange signs might show up during the day too. A song, a phrase, a synchronicity that feels too exact to ignore. These aren't coincidences. They're clues. Your spirit team, your intuition, your higher self, they're whispering. They know the path before your mind does. So write it all down. Don't dismiss the weirdness, because what feels symbolic now might become instruction later. And if you felt tired for no reason, there's a deeper reason for that too. 5. Sudden waves of exhaustion. And suddenly, you're tired. Not just sleepy, but bone-deep exhausted. It doesn't make sense, right? The retrograde is over. The pressure should be lifting. So why does your body feel heavier now than it did during the peak chaos? This isn't laziness. It's not weakness. It's your system shutting down for recovery. While your mind is eager to move forward, your body knows the truth. You've just been through an energetic war. For the past 3 weeks, you've been managing emotional tension, disrupted communication, unresolved patterns, and whether you realized it or not, that took a massive toll. Now that Mercury has stationed direct, your body is exhaling. And in that exhale, all the energy you burned just to stay grounded is catching up to you. This is a deep reset, and it's non-negotiable. If you try to push through it, if you shame yourself for not being productive right now, you'll miss the real opportunity. Because this fatigue is sacred. It's your body asking to reclaim its power, to rest not just physically, but spiritually, to integrate, to prepare. So listen to the exhaustion. It's not a flaw, it's a signal. And just beneath that tiredness, something is starting to flicker again. But it's fragile. Let's talk about that next. 6. A fire is coming back, but it's not fully lit yet. And here it comes, the flicker, that tiny spark of motivation. The idea you pushed aside last month suddenly feels alive again. You're starting to feel the pull toward action, creation, momentum, but don't rush it. This is not the time to go full force, no matter how tempting it feels. What you're feeling right now is the first light of a sacred ignition. The fire is real, but it's delicate. If you try to force it into a wildfire today, you'll burn out just as quickly. This isn't a sprint. It's a slow, intentional build. Let the energy rise at its own pace. Nurture it. Feed it with presence, not pressure. This is where most people sabotage themselves. They confuse the flicker with a green light. But true alignment doesn't beg to be rushed. So hold the spark, protect it, Because when it's ready, that flame will become unstoppable, and something else is unlocking right now. Something behind the scenes. 7. Locked doors are starting to creak open, and now the energy begins to shift beneath the surface. The things that felt stuck just days ago, jobs, decisions, relationships, plans, they may not be fully moving yet, but something has changed. You can feel it. The resistance isn't as heavy. The no doesn't feel as final. The door hasn't swung open, but it's creaking. This is the moment of loosening, when the universe quietly starts unlocking the next chapter. Not with fireworks, but with whispers, a subtle nudge, a sudden opening, an old desire that starts calling you again. That's not a coincidence, that's guidance. Don't ignore the pull. Don't dismiss what's softly resurfacing. The opportunity you gave up on, the idea you shelved, if it's back in your mind now, it's for a reason. This is how new timelines begin, not with a bang, but with a shift in energy. And you'll want to protect that shift because something even more subtle is happening inside you. 8. You're more sensitive than you realize. And finally, there's something you might not be noticing, but it's affecting everything. You're more sensitive than you realize. Even though Mercury has gone direct, your energetic field is still wide open, raw, and recalibrating. You've just been stripped down by weeks of cosmic pressure, and now even the smallest vibration hits deeper. Words cut more sharply. Noise feels louder. The energy of a room lingers on your skin. This isn't weakness, it's awareness. You're not broken, you're tuned in. But that sensitivity needs protection. Not everyone around you is moving with the same care. Not everyone has processed what you've just gone through. So guard your space. Don't overexpose your energy. Say no when you need to. Rest when the world expects movement. The winds may have shifted, but you're still adjusting to the new air. And now that you're aware of the changes, you need to know what to do with them. So here's the truth. All of this is already in motion. These shifts are happening around you and within you, but most people won't recognize them. They'll shrug it off, say, "I'm just tired," or "I'm just off today," and miss the deeper meaning. But you see it, you feel it. You know this isn't just a vibe, it's a dimensional reset. Mercury is direct, yes, but your next chapter hasn't fully formed yet. The next 72 hours are everything, so move with intention. Listen closely, protect your energy. And if something pulls at your soul right now, follow it. It's your signal. And if this resonated, subscribe, and I will see you in the next Cosmic Update video.